Have you ever watched a horror movie that left you staring at the screen long after the credits rolled, wondering what the hell just happened? Tonight, we dive into the shadows of cinema's most haunting mysteries, stories that twist reality, challenge your sanity, and end in ways no one truly understands. From psychological nightmares to demonic riddles, these films don't just scare you, they stay with you. So grab your popcorn, and maybe keep the lights on. If you love mind-bending horror, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We're just getting started. 1. Jacob's Ladder, 1990. A Vietnam War veteran returns home, only to realize his greatest enemy might be his own mind. But what if the nightmare never ended, and he never really came home? There's something deeply unsettling about Jacob's Ladder. It doesn't scream in your face with cheap jump scares, it whispers, crawls, and waits for you to notice that something is horribly wrong. Jacob Singer, a broken man haunted by visions of faceless creatures and flickering memories, drifts through New York like a ghost. He's trying to piece together his life after the war. But the more he remembers, the less it all makes sense. And that's the beauty and the terror of this film. Imagine living a life where every street corner hides a shadow. Every sound feels like an echo from another world. You begin to wonder, is this trauma or something supernatural? That's the question that makes Jacob's Ladder linger in your head long after it's over. The film blends psychological horror with spiritual symbolism so deeply that by the time the truth arrives, you don't even know if you want it anymore. Admit it, at some point, you've questioned your own memories. That one dream that felt too real. That déjà vu moment you couldn't explain. That's the same space Jacob's Ladder lives in, between life and death, sanity and delusion. The ending doesn't give you answers, it asks if you're ready to face them. Was Jacob dying all along? Was everything just a hallucination of a soldier's final moments? Or was there something darker, a secret the government buried beneath the fog of war? Fans have debated it for decades. Some see it as a metaphor for purgatory, others as a psychological study of trauma and guilt. The truth? It's whatever you believe, and that's exactly what makes it timeless. The ending doesn't tell you what to think, it dares you to decide. So tell me, when the screen faded to white, what did you think happened? Drop your theory in the comments. Were you heartbroken, confused, enlightened, or maybe all three? And hey, if you love films that leave you questioning reality, hit that like button, share this video with a fellow horror lover, and subscribe, because up next, we're stepping into the decaying halls of Session 9, 2001, where madness doesn't come from ghosts, but from within. 2. Session 9, 2001, a cleanup crew enters an abandoned asylum, expecting dust and decay, but what they awaken is far darker than ghosts. Sometimes, the scariest voice in the dark is your own. If Jacob's Ladder showed us the horrors of the mind unraveling, Session 9 drags us even deeper into the corridors of madness itself. There are no monsters here, no jump scares, no cheap tricks, just silence, asbestos, and whispers from the past that start to sound a little too familiar. The story follows Gordon and his team as they strip asbestos from a derelict mental hospital. But as the days crawl by, something begins to change. The building starts to breathe, and maybe it remembers. What makes Session 9 so unnerving isn't what it shows, but what it suggests. Every flicker of light, every creaking door, every sudden pause feels like a memory trying to claw its way back into existence. You can practically smell the mold, feel the grime under your skin, and as the tension builds, you start asking yourself, is the evil inside these walls, or inside them? The brilliance of Session 9 lies in its quiet descent into insanity. You don't even notice when things start to go wrong. The film doesn't shout, it whispers. The characters begin to crack under pressure, one by one, their minds mirroring the decay of the asylum itself. And then comes the tapes, 9 therapy sessions recorded years ago. A woman's fractured personality begins to emerge through those recordings, revealing layers of darkness that echo frighteningly close to the present. By the time you reach the final session, you'll feel your stomach twist. The last revelation doesn't scream, it sighs. And somehow, that's worse. When the truth finally surfaces, it's not supernatural. It's human, painfully, terrifyingly human. That's what makes the ending so divisive. Some viewers felt betrayed, expecting ghosts or demons. Others saw genius. A reminder that the real monsters are born in our own guilt and denial. So what about you? Do you think Gordon was possessed? Or simply broken? Was it the building? Or his own conscience eating him alive? Tell me what you believe in the comments. I want to know which side you're on. And if you're still breathing after that ending, hit like, share this video with your horror-loving friends, and subscribe, because next, we're crossing into a darker obsession in The Vanishing, 1988. Where the question isn't who took her, but what happens when you finally find out. 3. The Vanishing, 1988. A man's lover disappears without a trace during a road trip, and his obsession to find her leads him into a darkness more terrifying than death itself. What would you sacrifice for closure? If Session 9 made us question sanity, The Vanishing makes us question obsession. It's not a loud film, it whispers in dread, stretching tension until it feels unbearable. From the very beginning, there's something disturbingly ordinary about it. No ghosts, no blood, no supernatural terror, just a missing woman, a desperate man, and a mystery that festers in the silence between them. But that's where the horror lives, not in what we see, but in what we can't stop imagining. Rex and Saskia are lovers on a summer trip through France. They laugh, tease, bicker, it's all so normal, so human. Then, in one blink, she's gone. A crowded gas station, a brief moment apart, and she vanishes as if erased from existence. The police find nothing, no clues, no witnesses, not even a trace. But Rex can't let go. Years pass, relationships crumble, yet he still hunts for an answer that refuses to come. You can feel it, that desperate, gnawing need to know, because sometimes, not knowing is worse than any truth. Then comes the man who claims to have the answer, Raymond. The calm, almost polite kidnapper. He offers Rex a deal. If you truly want to understand what happened to her, you must experience it yourself. That's when The Vanishing stops being a mystery and becomes something else entirely, a moral trap. What would you do in Rex's place? Would you drink from that cup of truth, knowing it might be your last? The ending, well, it's one of the most chilling ever filmed. No music, no dramatic screams, just a quiet realization that hits like a brick. When the screen fades to black, you're left staring into the void, because you just went there with him. Some call it brilliant, others call it cruel, but no one forgets it. So tell me, did you see it as justice? Or madness? Would you have done the same? Let's talk about it in the comments. I'm genuinely curious to hear your thoughts. And if this slow, psychological burn sent shivers down your spine, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, because next, we're heading to Japan for Audition, 1999, where love and terror intertwine in ways you'll never forget. 4. Audition, 1999. A lonely widower holds a fake casting call to find love, but the woman he chooses hides something far darker than heartbreak. What begins as a romance, ends as a nightmare you'll never unsee. After the cold dread of The Vanishing, Audition feels almost gentle at first, soft lighting, quiet music, a story about grief and second chances. You might even think, this isn't horror at all. But that's exactly how Takashi Miike traps you. He lulls you into comfort, lets you lower your guard, and just when you start to care, he rips the floor out from under you. The film follows Shigeharu, a man still mourning his late wife. Pressed by his friend to find love again, he agrees to hold a fake audition for a non-existent film. Secretly hoping to meet someone sincere. Enter Asami, beautiful, soft-spoken, fragile, the kind of woman who seems too perfect to be real. And maybe she isn't. The chemistry between them feels awkward yet sweet. But something about her stillness feels off, like she's waiting for a cue the audience can't hear. Then, one night, the phone rings. The camera lingers on her, sitting perfectly still in an empty apartment. A large burlap sack behind her suddenly moves. That's when you realize, this isn't love. It's obsession, control, and vengeance dressed in white innocence. The second half of Audition descends into pure psychological torment, not because of what it shows, but because of how quietly it shows it. Every sound, every breath, Every flick of her wrist makes your skin crawl. But what makes the ending so controversial isn't just the violence, it's the question it leaves behind. Is Asami a monster born from trauma? Or a victim turned executioner? Did she go too far? Or did she finally reclaim her power? Some see her as a villain, others as a symbol of every silent wound women carry. The film never answers. It just lets you sit there, shaken, wondering what you just watched, and why you can't look away. So tell me, how did you feel watching Audition? Did you sympathize with her? Or fear her? Do you think love can survive the scars of the past? Leave your thoughts below. I'd love to know how you interpret that final haunting smile. If this film made your heart race and your stomach turn, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, because next, we journey into the eerie mountains of Korea in the Wailing, 2016, where faith and evil collide in ways you'll never see coming. 5. The Wailing, 2016, a small Korean village is gripped by a mysterious sickness, and as paranoia spreads, one father's desperate search for truth leads him straight into the mouth of evil. What if faith itself becomes the trap? If Audition left you shaken by the cruelty of love, The Wailing drags you into a nightmare of faith, fear, and doubt. It's not a film you simply watch, it's one you sink into. Everything feels damp, heavy, and cursed. The rain never seems to stop. The mountains loom like silent witnesses, and the villagers' eyes tell you that something ancient and unspeakable is awake among them. We follow Jong-gu, a bumbling but well-meaning police officer whose quiet life unravels when people in his village begin to die in grotesque ways. Each death is worse than the last, and rumors spread about a strange Japanese man living deep in the woods. Some say he's a demon, others whisper he's just a recluse. But as Jong-gu's own daughter falls ill, the question stops being, who's guilty, and becomes, what will you believe when nothing makes sense anymore? That's the genius of The Wailing. It doesn't hand you answers. It toys with you, mixing shamanism, Christianity, folklore, and raw human panic into a fever dream that refuses to resolve. Every time you think you've figured it out, the film flips the table. The shaman might be lying. The priest might be powerless. The demon might be innocent. And the moment you choose a side, the movie punishes you for it. By the time the ending arrives, you'll be exhausted, but you won't be sure from fear or heartbreak. Was the stranger truly evil, or just a scapegoat for a community losing its soul? Did Jong-gu damn his daughter through doubt, or was he doomed from the start? That's what makes it so controversial, no matter what you believe. The film makes you question why you believed it. Tell me honestly, did you think the Japanese man was the devil? Or something else entirely? And what about the woman in white, savior, or deceiver? I want to hear your theory in the comments, because everyone sees this story differently. If The Wailing got under your skin, and I bet it did, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because next, the horror turns inward again with The Invitation, 2015. Where the most terrifying thing isn't what's outside your door, but the people you once called friends. 6. The Invitation, 2015. A man attends a dinner party hosted by his ex-wife and her new husband. What begins as an awkward reunion slowly turns into a psychological nightmare. You think you'd recognize danger if it stared right at you across the dinner table, wouldn't you? After the chilling chaos of The Wailing, where fear came from ancient curses and shadows, The Invitation drags us back into something eerily familiar, the polite, civilized horror of human gatherings. Will, our protagonist, enters a lavish home filled with laughter, nostalgia, and carefully poured wine, but beneath every smile, there's tension, thick, invisible, suffocating, the kind of tension that makes your gut whisper, something is terribly wrong. As conversations unfold, you start to question everything. Why are the doors locked? Why is everyone pretending not to notice? Every clink of a glass, every forced laugh feels like a countdown to something unspeakable. And when it comes, it's not a sudden jump scare, it's a creeping realization that trust itself can kill you. What makes The Invitation so powerful isn't just its ending, it's the slow burn. The polite dread that grows until it's too late. You can almost smell the wine, hear the low hum of background music, feel the air tighten as secrets surface. The film reminds us that monsters don't always have claws or fangs, sometimes They just have charming smiles and good intentions. Would you have stayed for dessert? Or would your instincts have screamed for you to run? That's the question this film leaves lingering in your mind long after the credits roll. Let's talk about it. What would you have done in Will's place? If this story made your pulse quicken, give this video a like. Share it with your fellow horror lovers. And don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into films that twist your mind and haunt your thoughts. And speaking of twisted minds, our next movie, Kill List, 2011, takes psychological horror to an entirely new level, where violence, faith, and fear collide in ways you'll never forget. 7. Kill List, 2011. A hitman takes on a series of contracts that spiral into something far darker and more disturbing than he could ever imagine. But what if the real horror wasn't in the killing? What if it was in what he was being led to become? If The Invitation showed us how fear hides behind polite smiles, Kill List rips off the mask entirely. The film doesn't ask for your permission. It drags you down a grim rabbit hole of violence, morality, and madness, until you're gasping for air. At first, it feels like a gritty crime drama, two hitmen, Jay and Gal, taking on a new set of jobs. But with every mission, something shifts. The world grows colder, the victims stranger, the purpose murkier. It's like watching reality itself unravel, one blood-stained contract at a time. What makes Kill List unforgettable is its unease. You can't quite name it, but you feel it. The film never tells you what's happening outright. Instead, it whispers through silence, through glances, through the kind of dread that sits heavy in your chest. You start to realize this isn't just about killing for money. It's about killing for something much older, much darker. Director Ben Wheatley weaves a story that feels part nightmare, part ritual. By the time Jay discovers the horrifying truth behind his assignments, you've already fallen too deep to look away. The final act, it's one of those moments that makes your stomach drop, your mind reel, and your morals twist into something unrecognizable. You'll ask yourself, was it fate? A setup? Or something supernatural pulling the strings all along? What's your take? Was Jay a victim of cult manipulation? Or was he destined for this all along? Let's hear your theories in the comments, I promise. This one's going to divide opinions. And if this kind of slow burning, psychological descent into madness speaks to your horror-loving soul, hit that like button. Share the video with your friends who enjoy being disturbed. And don't forget to subscribe for more tales that get under your skin. But hold on, if you think Kill List was dark, wait until you step into the world of The Ninth Gate, 1999. Where horror meets obsession, and the price of knowledge might just be your soul. 8. The Ninth Gate, 1999. A rare book dealer searches for legendary tomes said to summon the devil. But what if the closer you get to the truth, the further you fall into darkness? Could knowledge itself be the deadliest curse? After the unrelenting terror of Kill List, where human obsession and ritual collide in shocking ways, The Ninth Gate takes us into a more cerebral, seductive darkness. This isn't horror that slams you with gore or shrieks, it's the quiet, intoxicating horror of obsession. Dean Corso, a suave yet morally ambiguous book hunter, is hired to authenticate a mysterious 17th century book, The Nine Gates of the Kingdom of Shadows. What begins as an intriguing assignment soon spirals into a maze of deceit, murder, and sinister symbols that seem to follow him like a shadow with a life of its own. The tension builds not through frantic pacing but through subtle unease. Each page Corso turns, each illustration he studies, pulls him deeper into a labyrinth where the line between reality and the occult blurs. Every character he meets, a scholar, a collector, a mysterious woman, seems to hide something, their intentions as unreadable as the cryptic engravings in the book. And that's where you start to feel it too. The creeping fear that curiosity might have a price too high to pay. Mixtures of paranoia, desire, and moral ambiguity saturate every frame. Corso's journey is as much internal as external, a psychological descent into the seductive power of forbidden knowledge. You start to wonder, would you continue if you knew that each step toward truth might bring irreversible consequences? That lingering question is what makes The Ninth Gate so haunting. And then comes the ending. Subtle yet devastating. You're left asking yourself, did Corso succeed? Or did he simply trade one form of damnation for another? Was the power he glimpsed worth the cost? Or did he fail in ways too subtle to see? This ending isn't about shock, it's about reflection. The kind of horror that curls around your thoughts long after the credits roll. What do you think? Was Corso's obsession rewarded? Or was he already lost the moment he touched that book? Share your interpretation in the comments. I'd love to hear how you decode this intricate, haunting tale. If the ninth gate left you questioning curiosity and morality, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Up next, we move from the slow, occult dread to something that traps people not in books, but in a world of monsters beyond the mist. The Mist, 2007, where survival is as uncertain as your own sense of hope. 9. The Mist, 2007, a mysterious fog envelops a small town, bringing with it creatures that defy imagination, but the true horror might be the choices we make when hope fades. Could one decision destroy everything you love? After the haunting mystery of the ninth gate, where obsession and the occult toyed with our minds, The Mist plunges us into raw, emotional terror. Here, fear isn't just lurking in shadows, it's in the panic of ordinary people pushed to their breaking point. David Drayton, a local artist, finds himself trapped in a supermarket with his young son and neighbors, surrounded by a thick, unnatural fog teeming with monstrous creatures. What starts as a survival scenario slowly unravels into a study of human nature under extreme stress. As tension builds, alliances form and fracture, paranoia spreads, and morality becomes a fragile concept. Every corner, every shelf, every sudden sound outside the glass walls feels like a knife against your nerves. The fog isn't just physical, it's a metaphor for uncertainty, for fear, for the ways we can become monsters ourselves when the world is stripped down to survival. You begin to wonder, what would you do if every exit led only to more terror? And every choice carried a potentially fatal weight? The brilliance of The Mist is in its final moments, a conclusion so shocking, so devastating, it has divided audiences for years. Most horror films offer a glimmer of hope, a hint of resolution. Not The Mist. Director Frank Darabont strips everything away, leaving only despair and a gut-punch revelation that forces you to question morality, fate, and whether hope is sometimes the cruelest illusion of all. You don't just watch the ending, you feel it. A cold weight pressing down long after the screen goes black. So, what do you think? Was there any other choice for David? Or was the ending inevitable? Did it shock you, break your heart, or make you rethink the thin line between courage and desperation? I want to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments below. If The Mist left your pulse racing and your mind spinning, be sure to like, share, and subscribe, because next, we're entering a labyrinth of time and terror with Triangle, 2009, where the past, present, and nightmare collide in a way that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew. 10. Triangle, 2009. A group of friends on a yachting trip encounter a mysterious storm and an abandoned ocean liner, but the true terror lies in being trapped in a loop of time and fate. Can you escape when the nightmare is yourself? After the claustrophobic fear and moral collapse of The Mist, Triangle takes horror to a dizzying new level, blending psychological terror with mind-bending science fiction. Jess, our protagonist, boards a seemingly empty ship after a storm capsizes her boat, only to discover that the past, present, and future have become entangled in a haunting loop. Each encounter with the ship's eerie occupants forces her to confront not just external threats, but the terrifying possibility that she might be the architect of her own suffering. The film thrives on tension and disorientation. You're never quite sure what is real, and every repeated scene twists your perception further. It's the kind of horror that plays on your brain as much as your heart, asking unsettling questions. If you could rewind time, would you change your actions? Or are you destined to repeat them endlessly? The suspense is relentless, with each loop more terrifying than the last, pushing Jess, and the audience, to the brink of sanity. What makes Triangle unforgettable is its ending, one of the most controversial and mind-bending in modern horror. It doesn't provide closure in the traditional sense. Instead, it leaves you with a horrifying implication. Some nightmares are eternal. And no matter how hard you fight, fate might always have the final say. That sense of inevitability, that crushing realization that the cycle may never end, is what lingers long after the credits roll. Now I want to hear from you. Did you figure out the loop before the end? Or were you as trapped and confused as Jess? Do you think there's any hope for her? Or is she doomed forever? Share your theories in the comments. I'd love to know your interpretation of this twisted tale. If Triangle left your mind reeling and your pulse racing, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Because this concludes our journey through the top 10 classic horror movies with the most controversial endings. But don't worry, there's always another shadowy story around the corner, waiting to haunt your imagination. And there we have it, 10 classic horror films that refuse to let go of your mind long after the credits roll. From spiraling madness to unending loops of fate, each story has pulled you into worlds where fear, obsession, and uncertainty reign supreme. Which ending haunted you the most? And which left you questioning everything you thought you knew? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'm dying to hear your take. If this journey through terror thrilled you, like, share, and subscribe for more stories that will linger in your nightmares.